So here's the deal. Next week, positive vibes only, right? Next week, we want to have all sorts of what can go right, what can actually help the 49ers in this upcoming draft. And we're not going to put that negative juju in the air, Larry. Not you, not me. We're not going to do that. But let's do that today.
We're going negative today.
It's not really going negative as much as I just want to look at this from, there's no such thing as a draft pick that everyone didn't fall in love with immediately. And then that guy didn't work out and everyone pretends that they didn't fall in love with that pick immediately or do a video about how good he was going to be and then he wasn't and all that stuff.
Except the kicker and the punter.
How did the 49ers?
Those were universally panned. Jake Moody and Mitch Wishnowsky. And Wishnowsky's been good, and who knows what Jake will be, but the kicker and the punter picks usually get panned.
They are panned. You don't like to see that value, but if both those guys are on this roster for the next 8 to 10 years, they were good picks. There you go. We'll know at the end, right? Not at the beginning. And Wishnowsky's already a fabulous punter. There's no regrets there. How would the 49ers screw this up? What would feel like the wrong move if this was the big move that they made to then set themselves up for this draft? What would feel funny? What would make you go, I don't know if they played that the right way? The first thing that I think of in what could go wrong is the decision to trade Ayuk is made, and then whatever player turns out being the big pick that they get for trading Ayuk just doesn't work out. So not only do you not have Brandon Ayuk, but now you don't have the answer at interior lineman or interior defensive lineman, whatever you were looking for, the corner, whatever the pick Ayuk became, not working out, and not having Ayuk or the service of a player who's been disappointing. That to me is the single most devastating everything went wrong in this draft scenario almost there is, right?
Right. That's, you're kind of judging it though from behind. So like, you're not actually saying, well, if they traded Ayuk and they drafted player X, you're just saying if they traded Ayuk and they drafted a player that didn't turn out to be good. So that we're not going to know that like next week. We're going to, that's going to be
right. The pick
down the road.
Right.
I'll get more specific.
The pick they got for Ayuk becomes Solomon Thomas 2.0. Shit.
Yeah. I could go position by position of their needs. I mean, to me, any trade up for a tackle who might eventually actually be a guard is going to be a major gaffe. So if they trade up for Graham Barton and he becomes a guard, that's a fuck up. If they trade up for Jordan Morgan, kind of a short arm tackle who's thought to be ready to go right now, and then they don't play him right now, but he's got this limited upside short arm tackle who's very polished, that to me would be a screw up. So I don't, as far as exactly specific players, I think Jordan Morgan of the tackles is the guy that's kind of like low end. I'm not going to be happy with that. I'm not going to be happy with the Yale tackle who's coming off a quad injury being drafted in the first round because of his potential. Okay. Especially not when you're likely to go with Trent Williams and Colton McKivitz at tackle. So I would say Karan Amagaji and Jordan Morgan would be, in my mind, really, really disappointing picks. Those would be 31.
Staggering. Those would be huge reaches, though, right? I mean, we're not seeing those names on
lots of people. No, really? I mean, Jordan Morgan's mocked at 41, and a lot of people think that he might be the pick. I forget who mocked it the other day, but somebody had Jordan Morgan. It was Kuiper. Kuiper had the Niners taking Jordan Morgan at 31. So, yeah, if they go Jordan Morgan at 31, or if they traded up for Jordan Morgan or traded up and drafted Karan Amagaji, if you trade up from 31 to take a guy that most people have in the 40s or 50s, that's going to be, you got to be kidding me. Now that's the offensive tackle. Now let's move to a couple of their other spots that they're showing interest in. which would be defensive line. I personally think, I mean, it's all, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and I've been wrong before. So I'm not going to, I don't have like a huge negative thought really on any of the defensive linemen. I kind of like, if it's Byron Murphy, I'm okay. If it's Johnny Newton, I'm okay. I like the speed, effect of Braden Fisk. I like Ruke. I like Mason Smith. There's a number of defensive linemen, and I like a lot of those guys.
What do you think of Jerzon Newton out of Illinois?
I like him. I like Johnny Newton. Yeah, I like him. To me, another disappointment one would be if you traded up or if you took Chop Robinson. He wasn't that productive. And, you can make an argument he's not even the best Penn State defensive end. He has great workout numbers, but workout numbers to me are not a first-round pick in and of themselves. So Chop Robinson would be really disappointing to me. And then wide receiver-wise, to me, if you traded up super high in the draft and took Rome Odunze over Malik Neighbors or any of these elite receivers, I don't think Rome Odunze is as good as Harrison, Neighbors, Brian Thomas. I also am not a big fan of Troy Franklin from Oregon, not a big fan of Ladd McConkey.
It feels like Troy Franklin is becoming like we're hearing more about him now than we did 2 weeks ago.
Well, and he's right in that group. To me, he's a little undersized. I think everything in the Pac-12 favors the receiver. If you took Ladd McConkey, I think Ladd McConkey is a good player, but I think there's durability concerns, and people are like, well, if you say to the Ladd McConkey fans, he only scored 2 touchdowns, he was hurt. Okay, so then if you say to them, well, you know what, I think he's not durable enough, it's like, well, how can you project? Well, so in other words, there is all roads lead to Ladd McConkey. You know what I mean? It's like, so there is no there's no downside of Ladd McConkey.
I mean, Heisman Trophy winner Ladd McConkey, is that who you're telling me about here?
Well, I'm just saying, it's just like, that idea that, if you say he is not productive enough, and then people say he's hurt, and then you say, well, I'm worried about his durability, and people say, oh, it's just luck. He's a slightly built guy at 185 pounds. He ran for the stopwatch. I don't see that kind of 4.3 speed in his route running, so I don't think he plays that fast. So that would be a huge disappointment for me. And the other guy that I would say, that would be a huge disappointment for me would be Nate Wiggins. And a lot of people we're talking corner now, the Clemson corner. He's so thin. I mean, this guy looks like he would break the first hit he has. I mean, is he burning fast? Yeah, but he is so thin, and that concerns me. Now, Emmanuel Forbes was really thin last year for the Commanders, and he had a pretty good year, but you're still talking about anybody who's under, 170 pounds is really concerning. I think Wiggins was like in the high 160s or low 170s at the workout, and he looked just so thin. So to me, if you go for the speed corner with Wiggins, that's a concern. Also, Kamari Lassiter from Georgia had a really slow 40 time. I don't like the corners that can't run. You know what I mean?
That's a non-option right there. I don't want a slow corner. I don't think anyone does.
So,
by the way, can you take down Invader Niner $40 an hour? His avatar is disturbing me. What is that? What the hell is that? I don't know. It looks like a horror movie. I don't know what that is.
One of our best. One of my favorite chatters.
I love the guy, but the avatar, I couldn't stop looking at it. It's freaking creeping me out of the corner of my eye there.
So those are the ones for me that I would be like, you know what? Or any kind of a trade up involving Ayuk where you get just some player that's not going to play. So an offensive lineman that you say, yeah, you know what? 2 years from now, this guy's going to be Trent Williams' replacement. No. You're in 2 years from now is an eternity. None of us could be here at that point. So, I mean, it's just, who knows? I mean, it's just like, don't draft for 2 years from now inside your championship window, inside your Super Bowl window. And they are inside their Super Bowl window. So to me, almost all of my concerns would either be raw players that need coaching or injury risks, guys that I view as injury risks, or trading up for, players that the 12 mock drafts have in the 50s, and you took them, you traded from 41 to 26 and gave away tons of draft capital to take a guy that the vast majority of the people had 25 picks later. And then you're going to tell us, well, your intel is so much more about, you knew some team was going to take some player that's 40 picks beneath your deal, and you traded up and gave away like 5 picks to get up there. That I'm not loving that. And then I guess other than that, it would be like maybe like a reach. Like, to me, the tight end board is Brock Bowers is a true first-round pick. Nobody else at tight end belongs anywhere in the first 2 rounds. I mean, Jatavion Sanders is a mover, but I mean, even he would be like a late second-round pick. If you get into the second round and you're taking, Cade Stover from Ohio State or Theo Johnson, who's, on the board in the 90s, and you're, taking him in the second round, that to me would be a major reach. So I just don't want to see them. I want to see them, get as much bang for their buck as possible.